Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio. This is the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me are the astronomical members of the Song Talk Radio action team. We have Photon Phil.
You tell how fast I'm moving, but you can't tell where I am. Although I'm at home, but about that.
And we have Milky Way Mike.
The bar or the place?
Well, it's up to your interpretation.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be here. Thank you for...
Please send your comments and questions to at Song Talk Radio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the good old-fashioned email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit us at songtalk.ca to find out how you can be a guest. And before we get to our guests tonight, Mike, you got some news about
very exciting news for some people.
Mm-hmm.
KISS has officially announced the details of their second Las Vegas residency. They're going to be taking the stage just after Christmas, December 27th, and they'll be playing through until February at, where they're going to be. Zappos Theater at Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. So
I guess,
they always were kind of a
whatever acts
Vegas-y
go to
show
Vegas,
anyway.
stay in Vegas.
They can play along there with, who else was in there? Celine Dion is coming back to do some more. I don't know if Britney Spears has done her run. Anyway, but they always seemed a little Vegas-y. It's like Vegas rock and roll anyway.
That'd be
they're surprisingly good fun, actually.
It'd be an interesting double bill, KISS and Celine Dion. Who would open for
True.
Who would open?
Actually, Celine Dion singing KISS tunes might not be too bad.
She has done an AC/DC tune.
Oh,
Yeah.
Highway to Hell, yeah.
Good for her.
Yes. Now we have to apologize for being away for a couple of weeks. We took a rare break from our schedule.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd take a holiday.
Yes.
Summer vacation. Why not?
Yes. I was in Denman.
Where did you go, Phil? Where did you go, Neil?
I went to Denman Island in British Columbia here in Canada, and I experienced the joy of having your luggage lost on the way.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was very odd.
Did you end up recovering it, or?
Yeah, the next day actually, which is pretty good, but still, it was a bit odd.
Yeah, can't brush your teeth. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Was it a direct flight?
No, we flew from Victoria to Vancouver, which is like literally 15 minutes, and then
Down.
got onto another plane, and I guess that's where all the mix-up happened. But I'm happy to be
I remember
back.
flying to Belfast, a direct flight, and somehow they lost the luggage.
Did you ever get it back?
No.
Ooh. So someone's got your stuff.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, nothing valuable.
That's
Just my medication.
And you live to tell about it.
Indeed.
Oh, boy. Yeah, this past weekend we went to Algonquin Provincial Park, our last camping trip of the summer. Perfect weather. Perfectly clear the first night we saw the meteor shower. Really nice up and close and clear.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, it was stunning. Really, really cool. But, yeah.
I stayed in the city and finally got in a few games of golf, so
Nice.
I was happy too.
Yeah, weather was good for that too, I'm sure, down here.
It was fantastic. All right, but now we're back to what we truly love, talking about songs and songwriting.
Right. Yes, tonight we have the return of indie soul artist Jeremy Voltz. And here's a little taste of his new song, Like the Very First Time.
But in this room with you, well, there's nothing left to say. I know it's over now. I know it's over now. Oh, so hold me like the very first time. 'Cause we both know that it could be the last. Yeah. Oh, hold me like the very first time. 'Cause we
Burned out mathematician turned indie soul artist, Jeremy Voltz's music is inspired by thinking deeply about the people in his life and what he'd love to have the courage to say to them. Reminiscent of Jeff Buckley, Hozier, and Stevie Wonder, he has a voice that is powerful and haunting, delivering hook-heavy melodies with universal, heartfelt lyrics. Voltz is readying the release of his upcoming Toronto Arts Council-supported full-length album, Weekender. Created with multi-JUNO-winning producer Michael Waviva, who produced for Barenaked Ladies and Buffy Sainte-Marie. The album is due out October 22nd, 2021. From Motown-inspired soul tracks backed by full band 3-part harmonies and horns to quiet promises of hope declared acoustically, Weekender features uplifting, energizing conversations with the people in Voltz's life. Welcome back to Song Talk Radio, Jeremy.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hello, Jeremy.
Yeah, your last appearance, I looked it up, March 12th, 2017.
Ooh, it's been a while.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
Back when you could breathe on people.
Much. Just breathing on people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks
And
for
you actually, we first met you at the Song Talk meetup many years ago.
Yeah, at the Transact Club.
Yeah, at the Transact Club. Mm-hmm. Which was so what have you been up to the last few years?
Yeah. I've been doing the music thing. So writing a lot of songs, recording this album that I have coming out, where I gave you a bit that you had to read that was pretty difficult. Sorry about that. And I was like, that was a long.
Not your fault.
In that second paragraph. Well, could have eased it up. But working on that album. I have a second album coming out next year too, because I took COVID to just sort of record and write a ton of stuff. That's been going great. So we're going to be shooting a music video in about a week and a half for this album. That's going to be fun. We got a abandoned hotel. We're going to be able to shoot kind of a Scooby-Doo themed high schooler adventurers. Like I'll be wearing like a Boy Scout outfit kind of a thing. Cool. Trying to stay the night in a haunted house and investigate a mystery. It's gonna be great. I'm very excited about it.
So over COVID, were you guys recording like in separate studios, in your home studios separately, or?
It was a pain. So there was a time in July where like it was okay to do certain things, and that's when we tracked drums at Revolution Recording, because we were like, let's make sure the drums sound good. Everything else can kind of be overdubbed remotely. And then it was a mix. Like most things were done remotely over kind of Zoom or whatever, using different pieces of technology that would work sometimes and sometimes would not. I remember like the first day we tracked electric guitar with my guitarist Nelson, we had 6 hours. 5 hours of it was technical difficulties and 45 minutes of it was playing guitar.
Oh my God.
Like, this is awful. So it would have been great to just go into the studio with the band and knock out the album. Instead it took like 12.
Everything takes longer during a pandemic, I guess.
It's always a much more satisfying, I think, to lay down like a full band. It's like the energy is so much, and it's actually kind of fun. Whereas I always found let's do the drums and then overdub everything else. I just found it so exhausting, and you tend to focus on things you don't really need to focus on. And I remember, because I'm a huge Motown fan as well, and I think there's this one song where James Jameson is playing. He's playing like a minor bass run over underneath a major chord for like the first verse, I think, and it's become a huge hit. But if someone was tracking, they'd go, "Oh no, that's wrong." But when you have the energy, people just don't. People pay attention to the performance and the energy. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, very true.
They can hear the momentum, and it's hard to get that, like you said, when you're overdubbing. And luckily, the band has played these songs so many times live that we could kind of remember what it felt like to do it.
Yeah.
And we had some good live recordings that we would just actually listen to before we recorded to like remember how this sounds at the Horseshoe or whatever, like when we're really when we're really giving it, we'd sort of get back in that headspace. But
yeah, whatever you can do to sort of get the energy in the person's mind, because that's where it lives. Even when you're in a room, it's still, in your brain and in your ears. As long as it's there, then it's kind of, you can feel it and groove with it. And this song, it was a co-write, was it?
Yeah, this was a co-write. It was an interesting co-write. So I did this artist entrepreneurship program at CMI, and during that
music incubator.
Canada's Music Incubator. And during that time, there was a producer there, Beat Child. He's a really great like hip hop soul producer in Toronto, and we did a co-writing session, and we wrote just the chorus of this song. Like we tried to write verses, but like we wrote the chorus. Hold Me Like the Very First Time, because we both know that it could be the last. And the issue was like, we were like, what is this song? We really liked it, but we're like, what is the song about? Because sometimes what a song's about, you write that song. Sometimes a line comes to you, you love it, and you have to sort of think about it and figure out what it is. And then we were like, is somebody dying? Like, is what's that? Heavy? Do we want to write that song? That's tough. And so we only had this chorus. Then like 2 years later, I was watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and there was an episode. Wait, can I tell the story of writing this song? Okay. Yeah.
We're here.
I love the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's fantastic.
Great show.
Yeah, it's great. And there's an episode Buffy and Angel meant to be, they're star-crossed lovers, incredible love story, but they can't be together because of a curse that was cast upon Angel, some technical garbage, and he can't be in love with her. So they break up, and it's right before Buffy's prom, and she's sad and alone at the prom. And I'm watching this episode, and Angel comes up to, Angel like walks in the door and surprises her, and she's like, but I thought you weren't coming. And he's like, I knew this was important to you. And he's like, this doesn't mean that we're together. And she's like, I know. And they dance one last time, and they hold each other before he like walks off and leaves. And we sort of never see him again, except we do a bunch. And also he gets his own show called Angel. But like the point is like, I love the idea of this like one last kind of dance where you love each other, but for whatever reason you can't be together. And you remember that there were so many good things to the relationship, and it's like one last goodbye. And I was like, that's what I want the song to be about. So then I sort of wrote all the verses and the pre-chorus and everything kind of like 2.5 years after the fact, which is crazy.
And was part of that like okay, so when you said you wrote the chorus with your co-writer, was the melody in place there too? Because the melody's pretty poppy, happy, which when you suggested like someone dying, I'm like, no, that doesn't feel like it, That
was what was so hard. Yeah, we had pinned down the chords of the chorus and the melody, and we had that, and it's like, yeah, this feels funky, it feels dancey, it doesn't want to be a heavy song, and that's what we were struggling with, and like nothing we were coming up with the verses really told the right story that matched that chorus. So we sort of scrapped all the verses, and then later it came to me. But
how many different versions did you go through of the verses?
It was probably like, we're sort of continually editing and things. I'd say we probably came up with like 3 different ideas, and it was a good 4-hour session or something like that. And so, we left a lot on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Do you ever?
This was in the process of recording the record, or was this pre-recording?
Oh, this is a while back.
Okay.
It was just sort of brainstorming. Didn't know what the song would be at all.
When you were working with the producer, did he do a lot in terms of arrangements or structures, or
in the co-write?
Well, in the recording, going from the writing to the recording.
We were recording. Well, I had sort of done a lot of so working with Michael is incredible, right? He's like a seasoned veteran, and I love a lot of his albums. He's worked with Buffy Sainte-Marie, the Barenaked Ladies. He's done a lot of their albums. The Jerry Cans, very recently, great band. And I haven't done a lot. I've done a lot of like laptop-y producing and stuff like that. And I play all the instruments, so I can play in. I've got like drums back there behind the curtain and stuff, and I play things in. But I've never done a band record, like a real let's get the band together and go into the studio. And like Michael was the perfect person for that. So we already had kind of been playing this song live a few times, and I had kind of already arranged everything for the most part. And then it was Michael's job to like, let's, cut things down, really zoom in, really look at what needs to be here and what doesn't, and get all the right sounds. And yeah, and I feel like for a song like this, it's all groove based. If the drums work, the rest of the song kind of works, which is great. So we made sure the drums were like perfect.
Can you think of any specific changes that he did maybe to the structure that maybe you wouldn't have thought of?
Yeah, there were definitely, in the chorus, I had like these horn lines and backup vocal lines. Like there's like sort of this, hold me like the very first. And then these horns would go in like, and they were like very complicated, like competing horn lines and string lines. And we were like, no. So,
too many notes.
Yeah, too many notes, too much happening. It took away from the voice and stuff. Like often that's the producer's job, is to just like slim it down, right? Figure out what's important. And we also, I think I put this idea in his head. We were having a discussion about reverb, and I was like, I really like making things very dry as a choice and not using a lot of reverb. And then we sort of ran with that for this record. And if you listen to the song, it's very dry. The drums are really dry. You can hear everything. There's not a lot of verb. And so, that was sort of his choice also, to kind of like just really make everything just be present and up front. And I thought that was really cool.
I wanted to ask.
Very intimate.
Yeah.
I did want to ask about the strings, because strings were a big part of the Motown sound. So could you talk about how'd you do the strings? Like, what were they? Because it's a hard thing to actually do.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. That was all Michael's idea. We had this bridge, and there was sort of a guitar solo over it, actually, and it was great. Our guitarist is awesome, and he played a really cool sort of lick and stuff. But it was like, it didn't have it. And then Michael knows this incredible string player, Drew Jureka. He played on can't remember. But he's played on some like pretty insane people's records, and you just give him the track. And I was like, should I arrange things? Like I had arranged horn parts for other songs and some string parts and stuff. And Michael's like, just let him go. And so it's like, here you have, 8 or 12 bars to create. And Drew just layered strings in. Michael called them sort of disco strings. He's like, I want to hear disco strings during this section. And then they stay into the end and sort of match what I do in the melody. And it just ties the entire song together, because everything is so dry and intimate and like very close. It feels like you're sort of here, and then the strings just bloom and open the whole track up. And I love it. Yeah.
Do you know?
It's a great sounding song. It really works.
Do you know if it was like a violin, viola, cello thing, or is it just 3 violins? Or
that's a good question. I'm not sure what he layered actually. Yeah, cello in there, I think. So it'd probably just be violin, viola.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
Have you been changing your songwriting process over the last few years? Are you kind of doing it the same way?
I would say I came to some like big realizations about songwriting that I now sort of stick with over the last few years. So it's different. Now I tend to write without any instrument. Like it's like I try to write the melody and chorus or whatever as much as I can, just a cappella, because I feel like if it works, like if you can sing it and it's catchy, without anything. Yep. And I feel like we put a lot of stock in chords, but like if you've watched any reharm videos or whatever, like lots of different chords will work for lots of different songs, and color, and they can help influence the mood of what you have, and or push it and pull it in some direction or whatever. But I really now think of chords as extremely secondary to the songwriting process. So I'm all about melody and lyrics first, and rhythm and tempo. So now I tend to write entirely that way. I won't reach for a guitar till I have like a verse and a chorus, or piano or whatever.
So you just, do you like work with like put it into a phone, or?
Yeah, I actually I have a tape recorder in a Ziploc bag that I just keep in the shower.
Wow. I'm assuming that doesn't get backed up to the cloud.
No, it does not. Only because, like, well, I take long shower. Something about the shower, we all know. It just
That's true.
Very true. Yeah.
Magical place. It's it's the thinking chamber, and so I stay in there a long time, and then I'll find I don't remember what I came up with at the beginning of the shower till the end. So it's just there to remind myself of what I had done at the beginning. That was like it's a thing I wish I could remember. But.
Right.
So is it all kind of? So is the sound kind of muffled?
Oh yeah, it's like it's nothing you could ever. And I'm like it's mostly just running water.
Yeah.
Some of the newer phones are waterproof. Maybe that would help.
Yeah, you get a waterproof bag for your phone.
It'd probably be better. Yeah.
But it's enough to pick out the notes and know what it was, right?
And I kind of know if it's like a good idea. I'll sort of like shout sing it at the recorder a little more than when I'm kind of mumbling to myself. But.
Right.
That must be very
kinda
strange
reminds
from
me
the other
of-
side.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I was watching an interview with Paul McCartney, and he talked about in the early Beatles days when they didn't have ways to record, so they had to write memorable songs because that was the only way they'd remember them, which I thought was a good way to put it.
I remember listening to a podcast, Song Exploder podcast, which is a great podcast. And one of the songwriters, I wish I remember who it was, would say that they would write all their songs at a bar and get very drunk to the point that they didn't really remember the song. And then the next day they would just read the lyrics they had written in the bar. And they try to write songs so that the melody, you know what the melody is just from reading the lyrics. And you would just remember sounds. You're not remember it, like just know how it's supposed to go next morning.
Yeah, I've actually kind of adopted that same philosophy that melody is king.
Yeah.
Melody first. And even before, and you're right. Sometimes when I come up with a melody, I come up with a lyric first and the melody, I sit down on my piano and you're right. This chord pattern could work with it or that chord pattern could work with it. Like it does, you can flip it either way, depending on, like you say, like the shading and the color that you want to express. And
I found like at the beginning too, I would use a lot of complicated chords because I'd learned jazz chords and singing this jazz group. And so my ear is wrapped around jazz and things. And then it's like, you have to really step back and ask yourself, like, is this serving the message of the song and what I want to communicate? And a lot of times it's not, sometimes it is if it's like, oh, we're 2 minutes in the song and we want to hear something sort of interesting and crazy, but like, right off the bat, like, so now I'm simplifying a lot of chords, a lot of stuff.
I think the trick really is to have it complex enough that it sounds simple, but there is weirdness in there but it doesn't sound like it,
Sure.
That's really the trick, because I think there is a space for that and getting away from like 1-4-5 kind of thing, but there's a balance there somewhere.
Combination of inevitable and surprising.
Yeah.
That's true. There's an interesting article about how the most successful songs are somewhat predictable, but will always have a certain element of surprise to them. And that's what the thing that kind of sticks out. Yeah. But why don't we take a listen to the song?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is there anything in particular we should listen for in this song? A moment or a change that you're particularly proud of, or that was something you had to, figure out?
Yeah, I think my bass player Jack did a really great job on this, and I like some of his choices at the end that are fun to listen to. But I think the strings are definitely like the highlight, and people always comment about the strings for sure. Also, I'm partial to the lyrics. I like them.
So pay close attention.
It's too late, I'm sorry. You're packing up the dishes like you're moving to LA. And I think of you always. But in this room with you, well, there's nothing left to say. I know it's over now. I know it's over now. Oh, so hold me like the very first time. turn back in the doorway. Yeah, something made you stop. Give me one last look goodbye. And in your eyes I saw it. It wasn't all just heartache. There's some good we'll leave behind. I know it's over now. I know it's over now. Oh, so hold me back the very first time. 'Cause we both know that it could be the last, yeah. Oh, hold me like the very first time. 'Cause we both know that it could be. We both know that it could be the last.
I really like the ending. When I heard it, I kept going, what happened?
Did I say
Great
something
ending.
wrong? Yeah. I see what you mean about the bass. There's one, I thought, really clever thing, because mostly on the verse he bounces around, but I think it's the second verse, he's just on the one solid, and it really makes the chorus just nailed to the floor. It's great. And then from then on, it's bouncing again.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Or on the floor feel for a little bit. Yeah.
Really interesting. You're within a very short time. I mean, like the intro is like one bar, and then you're into the vocal. Was that a conscious sort of, that's the way people listen to music now thing, or?
No, that wasn't conscious. And I think maybe I toyed around with doing it a little longer, but I'm going to be honest, that little like riff, because I like the simplicity of just the one note, like dunk, dunk, dunk on electric guitar. But the second you play it twice in a row, you hear George Michael's Faith. Dunk, 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 and then it's like, oh wait, I know that sort of rhythmic pattern, and it's. Well, I guess it would be nice, dunk, dunk, if I. So, like, how much of can I sing that?
Well, and it's also simple enough that you don't need it 4 or 5 times, and clearly you didn't want to add additional layers at that point, because it does. The beginning of the song is very minimalist. It's almost like you can't really find the downbeat. It's like it's there, but it's kind of loose, and then it builds up, and that's in the arrangement and the production. But the surprising thing about the song, of course, is the chorus, because it just takes off.
Yeah,
like with it's a really, really substantial change. And I don't know, is that a typical thing for you that you write the chorus first, like super catchy, and then drill it down? I mean, bring it down for the verse.
It's funny because I'm usually this is sort of different for me. I would say this is a departure, because a lot of times I write verses first, and I'm really a sucker for like the first line of the song. Like that is the thing that usually comes to me and is like catches me and is the most important thing. And then a lot of times I'll struggle with the chorus, and I'll put more attention into the verses than I do into the chorus, and the choruses will often come down, even in pitch, like they'll be lower than the verses. The verses will tend to give it. And this song was the opposite, because I'd written the chorus with someone else and just had it sort of sitting there, and then weave these verses. And I think I kept the beginning really minimal, because I really like just those first two lines, like it's too late from sorry, you're packing up the dishes like you're moving to LA. The angel there from Buffy, because he moved to LA. But yeah, I don't know. I like those lines, and I didn't really want anything else, like just that little guitar plucks to be there, so you could focus on the words.
Yeah, and certainly you hear the lyrics there more than even in the second verse. Second verse, there's more stuff going on, so the lyrics do kind of get a little bit. There's in the background.
More rhythmic subdivision in the, like the drums and the bass are doing like a more complicated pattern in the second verse, and then I do. Like now listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really hear what I'm saying there now when I listen. Which is too bad because there's some lyrics I like in that second verse too. But
yeah.
What do you think, Michael?
Well, I was saying I liked the bass, and what I thought was interesting about, well, I love the way it picks up. It's so sparse at the beginning, and you talked about how dry it's recorded, so it's very intimate, and then it just opens up so nicely on the chorus, so it's great. And the strings are very hooky, like the melody of the strings is hooky, but they're not repeating, because I was like kind of singing along in my head, but the second time around they play a different, like there's an extra measure, and then, so it does sound very simple, and I would say it's a great radio song, but when you pay attention, listen to it, there's all kinds of little things going on that make it very interesting.
And, fun things like, I love the lick that my guitarist Nelson came up with in that chorus right after the first time. It was just like,
yeah, that's
a really hooky bit.
Yeah,
that's like a classic, 1970s production. Those little hooks that go in the chorus, and they are so important. And if you're out there recording your songs, try to put those in and try to find them. And they're not easy. But they can really make, when people sing this song, they're gonna go, hold me like the very first time, like they're gonna do that, and that's what you want.
It's true.
Did it bother you? I mean, you're saying how important the words are. Your chorus is really extraordinarily simple lyrically. It's literally two lines, and you repeat it, 2.5 times in the first bit, and then after the bridge it repeats 2 more times. It's the same. I mean, it's super catchy, the melody is amazing, but did you feel like on the second or third chorus you wanted to put a little more wordage in there?
Yeah, like words are often the enemy of a chorus, I think. Sometimes, like and especially like there's only so many words people can absorb, I think. And at that point too, you just want something simple and grounded that you can kind of sing along to. And I think in a chorus, rather than adding words, I tend to, so I sort of belt or change the melody up a little at the there's some musical differences, but also I find I love the melody of this chorus, but it's actually sort of hard. Like, da 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 da, but da 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 da, which is a bit of like a key changey kind of a thing. Those aren't really the notes you sort of expect. It's a little tricky to sing, and so just to kind of get people to be able to wrap their ear around that, I find I don't want to throw too much at people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the chorus is where you want to be repetitive, because that's the part people are going to sing along to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the thing that, I mean, again, for myself, is something, that's been kind of attuned to more consciously, is where do you introduce complexities and where do you pull back on those complexities, right? Because it always has to be that balance. Because you're right, if you have a complex melody and then you have complex words and then you have complex chord changes, then it gets to be too much for any listener to wrap their ear around, right?
Yeah. I think that's probably the greatest struggle as a songwriter I have, to be honest, is exactly what you're saying, is like, how complex can you make it? Where to be simple? When do you have to be simple? When can you get to be complex? And I don't know, it's sort of like telling a good story, it's like, knowing what details are important and relevant to a story that you're telling, about your day or whatever. Like, it's like, oh, suddenly you're at the bar and you realize, all 10 friends are listening to you talk about this thing that happened to you. And you're like, oh God, it doesn't matter who that person's name was or what, what I was eating, or like, suddenly you realize like I like ditch all that detail, like figure out what makes this good.
Yeah. It's always in retrospect. You think back to you telling that story. It's like, man, I could have done that in half the time.
Exactly. Or like, oh, I sort of fumbled the punchline, or like I should have said this.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the same skills, I think, in a song of like, how do I make this punch,
Mm-hmm. Or say it with the fewest words. Like efficiency is a thing too, right?
Yeah, I mean, but then sometimes it's like there are artists too where like Leif Volleback, it's like he's like pummeling you with words in this way that it becomes like I get lost in like the ocean of his language. So it depends. Like some things want to be really simple and some things want to be complex, and that is a magic that I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I like songwriting because I can't figure it out. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I have no idea why some songs are great and some songs aren't. I think I get closer to that as time goes on and I write more and more songs, but like, that's the thing that keeps me coming back. I have no idea. It's so hard.
But do you feel like you're better now in an objective sense than you were 5-10 years ago?
Yeah. It's hard to say. Like, I'm better and worse. I make beginner mistakes. But sometimes those beginner mistakes were really interesting accidentally, at the beginning. And sometimes I listen back to some things I made and it's like, wow, I would consider that a bad choice now, but actually it was quite compelling at the time. If I really like take away the horrible production from like, when I was first learning how to produce and stuff. So it's like, sometimes the more we learn, the safer we get, and the more we sort of stay in the boxes that song coaches teach us and things.
It's true.
That can be a danger too. So I don't know, to be honest. That's a very difficult philosophical question to answer.
It's true though. So you look back on something you wrote years ago and you go, that was actually kind of inspired in a way that it wasn't like, I wouldn't do that now. I wouldn't be that daring or I wouldn't be that interesting. Like I'm in safer boxes now, like you say.
For sure.
When you don't know the rules, you don't know when you're breaking them, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Back in the early days of punk, there was lots of bands that frankly weren't very good. But every now and then they would stumble on something that was amazing. But a lot of times they just weren't that good. So
finding the method to repeat it at will is the
being able to deliver on time,
I would say the most important skill that you develop as a songwriter over time is the ability to write with other people. That is a skill, and it's difficult and it's awkward at first, and you learn to get better at it. And I do generally think having extra people on a song like tends to improve the quality of it. So if you want to write the best songs you can, practice writing with other people.
Have you ever written a song with many people?
3's my top. I've never 4. I have written one song with 4 people. That was a little difficult. 3 in a room was okay. I'm guessing a lot of like the big pop songs that have like 8 or 9 writers on it. People came in at various stages. Like they weren't all just in a room throwing out ideas. Like
I'm sure.
Probably started with 2 or 3 people. And then,
So what sort of tips do you have now for writing with other people?
I mean, it's a good question, actually. What I think like there's just a level of like awkwardness that's difficult because you've been doing this thing by yourself for so long, and then it's like, oh, I'm here, and there's now some social give and take, and just being okay with that awkwardness where it's like we can sit silently in a room together. Like sitting silently in a room with somebody is sort of difficult at first if you're not used to that. While we're both thinking or whatever, being able to throw out stupid ideas and not, being able to say that you don't like something. Like these are all that somebody else is doing or you don't think it's fitting, and back that up if you need to. Like, these are all difficult. It's almost like a politeness sort of social thing.
It is
difficult. Anything.
Especially hard for Canadian songwriters.
Yeah.
That's true.
When I'm collaborating with people up front, I go, I kind of get permission to be wrong, just don't expect, like, I'll give you lots of things as long as you don't expect it to be solid and worked out, we can sort through it later. Because some people are very good about that and some people only want something that's, already ready to go. Is it really that time?
Speaking of things that are wrong, that is.
Oh my God, it goes by so quickly. I wanted to ask how math came into songwriting all this time. We've got to come back.
Yeah, special thanks, Jeremy. Where can our listeners check out more of your music?
Yeah, I'm on Spotify, Jeremy Voltz. I'm on Apple Music and all the big aggregators, and you can find me at jeremyvoltzmusic.com.
Perfect.
And, Facebook.
Spell Voltz just for the audio people.
V as in Victor, O-L-T-Z in Canada, Z in other countries.
All right. Just in case they thought it was the electrical thing.
And the album is dropping October
22nd. And they're still coming out September 18th that I co-wrote with Daryl James of the Strumbellas, and I'm really excited.
Wow, awesome.
Nice.
Excellent.
Okay, and we want to hear from you, our listeners, so please send your comments, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Song Talk Radio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes now that we're on these virtual boxes. Subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider, and don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at songtalk.ca. And you can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show at our resources page on songtalk.ca. And of course, wherever you are in the world, please join us online via Zoom at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neomodi.com. You can follow Phil
at philemery.ca.
And you can follow Michael
on Instagram, Proudfoot420. And by the way, I'll be hosting the next meetup, so expect a technical fiasco.
Oh, no. And Jeremy, your favorite social media of choice? Instagram?
All right.
Something like that. Thanks for listening, everyone. Be sure to drop by the website songtalk.ca to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Stay safe, everybody. Keep
or something, you know.
Something like that.
Stay still.
Safe stay.
Save space.
Save water, shower with a friend.
Save live music.